Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule has opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys another episode of Meta Monday. So this is the first full Meta Monday, the first full 7 days we've had since the big patch where they, changed a bunch of champions, buffed some, reworked some, and had a pretty large shift in the meta alongside with the game rule changes. So we talked about that a little bit last week, or mostly last week. But because I do my stats on a 7-day basis, there was still a couple of days with the old patch on there. So it showed things like Azir, like the top 3 decks I think were still the same from the previous patch. Where now we've had enough time to have a full 7 days since the patch, a little bit more than that. So now this is going to be a really accurate representation of what Masters Ladder looks like, what the play rates of things are, what the win rate of things are. So this should be a very good idea of what you can expect whenever you go in to play your ladder games. But before we get into the games, I wanted to remind you guys that 72% of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribing. So if you guys could do me a huge favor and click that subscriber button, I'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment down below, all that jazz. Help me out with the YouTube algorithm. You guys are great. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers. So if you guys can help me reach that huge milestone, I'd really appreciate it. That would be absolutely amazing. But that's going to be it for the intro. Let's dive into the top 8 decks of LoR Masters Ladder. So, number 1 is Fielder Rush. This deck kind of got bullied out whenever Azir Aurelia was meta. Or sorry, not Azir Aurelia. Azir Aurelia as well, but with Azir Xerath, because Azir Xerath, Monostream just like destroyed Fielder Rush, alongside Ziggs Talia destroys Fielder Rush. I think Pantheon is okay to Fielder Rush now. Fielder Rush is okay into Pantheon now, but old Pantheon decks with like Taric would destroy Fielder Rush. But with a lot of those decks not being played nearly as much and getting some nerfs, and people changing how they're playing the decks, Fielder Rush is being absolutely great right now. On top of, I think this win rate and the play rate's kind of inflated because we're towards the end of the season. So everyone trying to quickly grind up their games to go ahead and get to that 7-2 spot on ladder for seasonals, or even just qualify for seasonals in the first place. Anyone trying to get these quick grinds in to hit that rank that they're looking for is going to be on aggro. They're going to be on something like Pirates. They're going to be on Spiders. They're going to be on any type of, these various aggro decks. And Fielder Rush is really good into those decks. Obviously, you take decks that have a bunch of board wipes. You see here, the top performing decks aren't the greedy ramp version. They're the versions playing the Tavern Keepers, the Vile Feast, the, Avalanche, the Withering Whales, the Piercing Darknesses. We have the full anti-aggro suite coming in because we are towards the end of the season. So aggro is probably not it. You're going to see really quickly that we have this really big triangle going on of Fielder Rush and Pantheon and aggro. And basically aggro smokes Pantheon and random decks. Pantheon smokes this like Trundle decks and a lot of also a bunch of random decks. And then the control deck Fielder Rush kind of smokes Pirates. So that's the big triangle between 3. And all 3 of these kind of just beat random decks. Fielder Rush is the most skewed, where it loses to more random decks than like Pirates and Pantheon does. Because this loses to basically every type of combo or anti-control deck. Whereas Pantheon and Pirates lose to a lot of less random stuff. So that's the big triangle that we're in right now. Number 2, most played is still Azir Xerath. So I think this is mostly people just trying out the deck to see if it is still really strong. Newsflash, it is. Monostream is still very strong. It is still really good. It is a little bit slower now by about a turn and a half, depending on how you want to do the math. So technically, you don't get your Sun Disc anymore until turn 8, assuming you're not playing any advance cards. But 2 things. One is you kind of just like insta-win on turn 8 because you have so much mana. It's really hard for you to lose by that point. And 2, you see here, people are playing advanced things like Clockwork Curator. This lets you still pop off on turn 6. I recommended playing the 2-mana spell. I don't remember the name of it, but it basically predicts for you and then countdowns or advances too. So you still get your nice combo setups. The deck can still pop off on turn 6 if you get the high roll of like everything you needed before, and then now you just need also Clockwork Curator. But worst case scenario is you're still just like this mid-range deck that just needs to survive until turn 8, and then you're still this super broken deck just, you know, a turn and a half later. So still very, very strong. This is still a deck to look out for in seasonals for sure. Number 3, Pantheon Yuumi. So this deck, I told you guys last week how strong Pantheon Yuumi was. I've been telling you guys for a very long time how strong Pantheon Yuumi is. It's just a deck that I think people forgot about and just stopped playing it. But with the new gameplay changes, it made Faded even more broken because things like Cataclysm, Zenith Blade, Single Combat, Concerted Strike, all these spells that needed to resolve before to get your Faded trigger now trigger Faded instantly. So you could do something like Single Combat, and then your unit automatically grows before the Single Combat actually goes off. You could do something like Cataclysm, and your unit will grow and get out of that Mystic Shot range before the Cataclysm resolves. So it just makes it even harder to remove. Whereas beforehand, what happened is you'd commit 3 mana to Cataclysm, and if it's an early turn, that's probably all you have, and now your opponent can try and kill your unit before Cataclysm goes off. Or you have to wait an extra turn or two to Cataclysm, so to make sure you have enough mana left over for that Sharpsight or Pale Cascade or something to keep your unit alive. But then you have to invest 2 spells, and you're missing a Faded trigger in the future turns, and it's just overall really, really insane with the new play changes. And I'm surprised it took people this long to actually play Pantheon. But yeah, Pantheon still really good, has always been good. I think people kind of just forgot about it to play with new toys. Number 4, halfway down the list. We're zooming today, mostly because we've already talked about most of these decks for a very long time. So number 4 is Talia Ziggs. So this is very much just an anti-control deck. It's a really hard combo deck, or it's not difficult to play, but it is hard combo in the sense of you're basically just trying to go, okay, play my champions, get Hourglass, give Overwhelm with Absolver. Or play my Ziggs, Ancient Hourglass Ziggs, Talia the Hourglass, or, you know, vice versa. Your goal with this deck is to get 3 champions in play with Hourglass plus Talia, you know, at some point in time. And then on top of that, just go, okay, here's my champions. They have these attack triggers. I'm giving it Overwhelm with either Absolver. Some versions play the, I think it's like a 4-mana guy or 5-mana guy that gives all your champions +2/+2 and Overwhelm. Some people play that to give their champions Overwhelm, and whenever you give Ziggs and Talia Overwhelm, they kind of just end the game extremely fast. So because of that, this deck is really strong. You get to play things like Quicksand to stop the other opponent's combo decks. You get to play Deny for the control decks. You just have really big units with things like Absolver and Quicksand, or Absolver and Hourglass against control decks, so it's hard for them to ever kill your units. And yeah, this and then at the end of the day, once you get, if they are able to deal with your Talia Ziggs, then they still have to deal with an arsenal that's going to come down with a bunch of keywords, and that's going to keep gaining keywords. And we'll eventually get something like Spell Shield, Elusive Scout, and the control opponent just simply cannot deal with arsenal. Alright, number 5 is Monoviego. So this deck got really popular. It basically destroys Pantheon and destroys other mid-range decks, because you have so many ways to get this Viego. As long as you get your Viego, Pantheon is a deck that plays very few units and just makes them really big. So what you can do when you're Viego is you essentially level the Viego and your opponent loses the game. If they're on like a Pantheon style deck or a deck that plays, you know, large units, it's even good into, or it's okay into Monoshirima. If they flip, their Ascended champions are going to be the largest champions in their they're on their side of the field most of the time, so Viego could just simply kill them. There's only one unit in the Monoshirima in the Emperor's deck that's larger than your opponent, and it's a really good one to steal because it's the 9/7 that single combats the opponent's strongest unit. So if you steal that with your Viego, then you get to kill off another unit at the end of your turn, because the end of turn trigger will happen before the unit goes back to your opponent's control. So a lot of it's pretty good into Monoshirima. It's really good into Pantheon. You're not bad into aggro because you play, you know, some 1-drops here, you play some Vile Feast, you play some Quicksand, but for the most part, your aggro game is not going to be very strong, especially if you don't get your 1-drop. If you play against Pirates and you don't have Treasure Seeker on 1, you're probably losing that game really hard. because Vile Feast doesn't do too much against many of the good aggro decks nowadays. There's not many units that they're playing with 1 HP. It's basically just Saboteur and sometimes just the Fearsome Spider. Outside of that, Vile Feast doesn't actually kill anything, so you're still getting a 1-for-1 where Vile Feast goes, okay, drain a 3-2, block the, what was a 3-2, and then so you trade with it, and that's not very good, because you're essentially just playing a 2-mana unit that gains you 1 life sometimes. And if you're at full HP when you cast it, then it's not even gaining you a life, it's just, you're playing a 2-mana unit, which is not very good for you. And then it has ways to go over control with things like, you're playing 2 Deny, you're playing Hourglass, you play Atrocity. So this is also very good into something like Field of Rush and any really slow style control deck. Number 6, Caitlyn Ezreal Tri-Beam. So this deck kind of came back because of the Ezreal changes. We saw that Ezreal gets buffed now where he levels, just on target and he doesn't actually need the spell to resolve. So that's one reason. Another reason is people think that Caitlyn Ezreal is good into a bunch of aggro decks. Like, they think it's good into Pirates. They think it's good into Spiders and these other, the Draven Scion is, like, getting really popular. So they play that. But honestly, I'd stay away from Caitlyn Ezreal. I think this deck is pretty bad. You lose to Talia Ziggs. You lose to Monoviego. You lose to Azir Zereth. You lose to Field of Rush. Like, you're not actually that good into Pirates. You just lose to so much of the other top 8 to top 10 most played decks in the game that I really don't see a reason in bringing this on ladder. It could be an okay tournament deck because, we do have seasonals coming up here, but I definitely would not be playing this on ladder if I were trying to climb to get to a specific LP or rank before cutoff. Number 7, we have Pirates. I think this is the highest win rate deck in the top 8. Yeah, might be one of the highest. I think it's actually the highest win rate deck in the entire game, which doesn't surprise me. Pirates basically just beats a bunch of random decks, beats all but like one top deck right now, and then even against that top deck, you're Pirates, so you randomly just, win the game because you go, okay, swarm out. I just kind of, 6 wide on turn 3 and kill you. The amount of times that Pirates can go 6 wide on turn 3 is not very hard. You just go with like 1 drop on turn 1, Mirai Wardens on turn 2, Mirai Wardens on turn 3. That's 5 wide. All you need are 3 different sets of units, and you're nuts. Mirai Wardens is just a better house spider. If you really, really wanted to go all in on this going 6 wide, there's some tech that a lot of people aren't really playing, and I think it's adding house spider back into the deck. So, if, for instance, if like Vile Feast and stuff like that is getting really crazy for you, you take out this like Island Navigator, you take out like, maybe a Precious Pet or something, you take out maybe a Grenadier, and you just add in like 2 more house spiders, and now all of a sudden you're, almost guaranteed to be 6 wide on turn 3 consistently because you have so many of these 2-mana summon 2 unit cards. So Pirates really good. This is actually the deck I would be on if I was trying to climb for a higher rank or spam it out. Games are really, really quick, so even if you win or you lose, the games happen extremely quick, and it's really easy for you to just jam a bunch of games in back to back to back to back, and really easy for you to just pump out as many games as possible to try and climb. And then the last deck on this top 8 is Jace Lux. So I put a video out on this deck. I did really well with it. I went 15-0 on my initial gameplay with the deck. And I think it's extremely strong. It's really good into aggro decks. This is not quite the version I played. I played a 4 Demacia Rally version that played like Poro Cannons, and it was kind of like a Yorlin Arm style deck. So it looks like people have kind of strayed away from that and just went more into this mid-rangey style with Forge Chiefs, Broadwing, and they're very much in on the Jace Lux package. The version I played, the version I liked, it wasn't really a Jace Lux deck as much as it was just, kind of like this weird Demacia PNZ mid-range / control deck that could randomly kill you in 1 turn with, Poro Cannon for Demacia Rally. So that's the version I liked, but, I haven't been playing too much ladder lately, and definitely haven't been playing too much Jace Lux lately, so if this is what people have come to the conclusion on why it's better, I can understand it. You have the Frost for late burn, you have the Persuader and the Broadwing to go ahead and try to take control of the board early on against a lot of things like burn or aggro. You have a bunch of 1 and 2 drops, and, Petricite Broadwing can easily go 2 for 1 most of the time. So I think the meta game right now very much seems to be have early game against Pirates, but then also have a way to kill the Trundle. So I think that's what I would be doing right now. If you weren't playing Pirates, I would personally just play Pirates because I'm a big believer of just play the best deck, and Pirates is, you know, the best ladder deck. If you're not on that game plan and you're looking for a more, you know, non-mainstream deck to play, or maybe you just don't like playing Pirates, I would look for any deck that has early game that can contest with Pirates, and then also a deck that can kind of beat Trundle Tryndamere somehow. Whether that's a deck that has Deny, a deck that's not weak to Avalanche, a deck that can punish them tapping 12 mana for a Field Rush, something like that. That's the type of deck I would be looking to play. You know, Monostream does this, or not, sorry, Monostream. Viego does this really well. Monostream can if you play enough 1-drops like Dunekeeper, stuff like that. For the most part, I just agree that Pirates is really good and Pantheon is really good. Those are the two decks I would personally be playing right now if I was hard grinding ladder for the top seed, which I might be. You know, who knows? Tune into my stream where I might just be jamming Pirates the next couple of days, trying to see if I can get a Worlds qualification spot for ladder. You know, we'll see. No promises. But that's going to be it for this Meta Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what decks you guys are playing this week on ladder, what you're trying to use to get to that, you know, quick 7-2 seed for seasonals, or if you're just trying to qualify for seasonals. What deck are you guys playing? Let me know down in the comments below. That's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next video.